Alex stood in the center of the arena, feeling the weight of the moment. The crowd was silent, watching him closely. All around him were the sounds of the galaxy's mightiest warriors, but today, it was his turn to prove himself. It wasn't the biggest, the strongest, or the most experienced. But he had something they didn't: the heart of a human. He had never expected to find himself here. Facing an alien like Kira, she was the best fighter in the galaxy, known for her deadly skill and unmatched strength. Alex, a simple human soldier, had never been trained to fight aliens in this way. Yet here he was, standing across from her in the battle arena. The crowd waiting to see who would fall. Kira stood tall, her red skin glowing under the bright lights, her sharp eyes focused on Alex. She wore armor made of a material no human could ever hope to penetrate. Her muscles rippled as she stretched, preparing for the fight. She smirked at him, confident that she would win. After all, she had never been defeated in battle. She had destroyed entire fleets of ships, torn through armies, and left her enemies in ruins. Ready to lose, human? She called her voice a mix of arrogance and amusement. Alex took a deep breath. He had no choice but to fight. There was no turning back now. The rules of the contest were clear. Win or lose, he had to stand his ground. His people had sent him here to represent humanity. He couldn't back down. "I don't plan to lose," Alex said quietly, not showing any fear. The bell rang, signaling the start of the battle. Kira charged first, her movements a blur of speed and power. She was faster than any human he had ever seen. Alex barely had time to react as she swung her heavy fist toward his chest. He ducked, narrowly avoiding the blow. The ground beneath him cracked from the force of her punch. Kira growled in frustration and came at him again, this time with a series of rapid strikes. Alex moved quickly, using his training to dodge and parry her attacks. Every time she struck, he could feel the power behind her punches. But Alex was focused. He had learned to use his small size and agility to his advantage. For every powerful attack Kira launched, Alex found a way to slip through her defenses. He couldn't match her strength, but he didn't need to. He just needed to outsmart her. Darted to the side, grabbing a metal rod lying on the ground. With one swift motion, he swung it toward Kira's legs. She tried to jump, but the rod hit her in the side, knocking her off balance for a split second. That was all Alex needed. With a burst of energy, he tackled her to the ground. She fought back, trying to throw him off, but Alex held his position, using all his strength to keep her pinned. The crowd gasped, watching in disbelief. Kira, the unbeatable warrior, was being held down by a human soldier. Kira's eyes flashed with fury as she finally pushed him off. She quickly stood up, her pride hurt, but there was something else in her gaze, now a flicker of respect for the human who had dared to take her on. She was used to winning, but Alex had proven that he wasn't just some weakling to be thrown aside. Alex got back to his feet, his body aching from the effort. He knew he couldn't keep this up forever. Akira's next move shocked him. Suddenly stopped, taking a step back and lowering her weapons. The arena went quiet. Kira didn't move. Instead, she simply stared at him, her face unreadable. Alex was confused. Was she surrendering? No, she couldn't be. She was Kira, the fiercest fighter in the galaxy. There was no way she was giving up. "What's going on?" Alex asked, still on guard. Kira didn't answer right away. She stood there, breathing heavily. Then, in a soft voice that Alex barely heard, she said, "You've won, human." The words hit him harder than anything she had thrown at him. He had won. How could that be? He had just been fighting to survive, not to win. But Kira had surrendered, and the crowd erupted in cheers. But Kira wasn't finished. She took a deep breath, looking him directly in the eyes. Then she spoke again, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Let me be yours," she said. The words froze Alex. In place, his mind raced. What was she talking about? He had just defeated her in combat, but this was something he hadn't expected. For a moment, all he could do was stare at her. Kira, the warrior, the conqueror of worlds, was offering herself to him. She was one of the galaxy's most powerful fighters, yet she was asking him, human, to accept her offer. Alex didn't know what to say. His heart pounded in his chest. Could this be a joke? Was she mocking him? No. The look in her eyes was serious. She wasn't playing around. He took a step forward, unsure of what to do next. He had just beaten her in combat, but now she was offering something else, something far more complicated. This wasn't about fighting anymore. This was something entirely different, and Alex had no idea what to make of it. "Why?" he asked, his voice rough. Kira smiled softly. "'Cause you have shown me something no one else ever has, strength. Yes, but also heart, something my people have forgotten." Alex's mind was still reeling from the shock. He had no idea how to respond to her. This wasn't just a victory in combat. It was a challenge to everything he knew about honor, power, and relationships. The crowd's cheers faded into the background. Alex was no longer fighting for his life. He was fighting to understand what Kira had just said. He had defeated her in battle, but now he had to face the biggest challenge of all: what to do with her unexpected offer. Alex stood there, frozen in place, as Kira's words echoed in his mind. "Let me be yours." The arena was still. The cheering crowd faded into nothingness, and all that mattered was her, Kira, the undefeated warrior he had just defeated. Her in combat, something that felt impossible just hours ago. And now she was kneeling before him, offering herself in a way Alex didn't understand. His heart raced, and his mind was spinning. What was this? What did she mean? Kira didn't rise. She stayed kneeling, her gaze fixed on him. The red glow of her skin seemed to pulse as the silence grew heavier. Alex opened his mouth, but no words came. "Why would you say that?" Alex finally managed to ask, his voice shaky. "Why would you want to be mine? You're Kira, you're one of the greatest warriors in the galaxy. You've never lost." "If I have lost, human," Kira interrupted, her voice calm but with an edge of sadness. "I lost long ago, before I ever stepped into this arena." Alex felt the weight of her words. Kira wasn't just offering him something physical. There was a deeper meaning behind it, something more vulnerable. He had always known that warriors like Kira had their pride, their honor. But this was something different. Kira stood up slowly, her eyes not leaving his. She seemed to be weighing something in her mind before she spoke again. "Fighting has always been my life," she continued. "It's all I've known. But after years of battle, I'm tired. I've won so many times, but I've never felt anything. I've never felt this." She took a step toward Alex, and he instinctively took a step back. Alex could see it in her eyes now. Kira wasn't asking for control. She wasn't demanding anything from him. She was asking for connection, for something that went beyond power, beyond strength. She wanted to be seen, to be known for who she really was, not the warrior, but the person underneath. "You defeated me not because you were stronger, but because you saw something I didn't expect," Kira said. "You didn't fight with brute force. You fought with your mind, with strategy. And now I offer you something no one else ever has. I offer you a chance to be with me, to learn who I really am." Alex shook his head, still unsure. "I don't understand. You're offering yourself to me like some kind of prize. This isn't what I want. I never came here to fight for a prize. I came here to represent Earth. I came here to show we belong, that we can stand with the rest of the galaxy." Kira stepped closer, and this time Alex didn't move away. She was so close now that he could feel her presence, strong and undeniable. "I don't want to be a prize," she said softly. "I'm not asking you to take me or possess me. I'm asking for a partnership. You see me for who I truly am, not just a weapon. You saw through all of that. That's what I want. Chance to be more than just a fighter, more than just a symbol. I want to be someone's equal." Alex took a deep breath. Her words were getting through, slowly. He still didn't fully understand, but something in him shifted. Maybe it was the way she looked at him, honest and raw. Kira wasn't like the others. She wasn't just a warrior. She was a person, someone with fears and desires, someone who wasn't as invincible as she seemed. What if I don't know what to do with that? Alex asked, his voice filled with doubt. You don't have to know, Kira replied. You just have to be willing to try. We're both strangers to each other. But we don't need to understand everything. Sometimes the best connections happen when we don't have all the answers. Alex stood in silence, thinking. The battle had been the hardest of his life. He had been pushed to his limits, physically and emotionally. He had expected to fight and leave, but now everything was different. He had not only fought Kira, but he had also been forced to look at himself in ways he hadn't before. He had come to this arena thinking he was just another soldier, another face in a crowd. But now in this moment, he was seeing Kira as more than just the fierce warrior. He was seeing her as a person, someone with dreams, fears, and hopes, just like him. I don't know what to say, Lex admitted. His voice soft. Kira smiled, a faint but genuine smile. You don't have to say anything, just have to decide what kind of person you want to be. If you're open to it, we can figure this out together. You don't have to fight alone anymore. Alex's heart softened. He had never been one to shy away from a challenge, but this was different. He wasn't sure what this connection meant or where it would lead, but he felt something pull him in. I guess we can try, Alex said after a long pause. Meeting her gaze, Kira's smile widened, and for the first time, Alex saw a glimpse of relief in her eyes. That's all I ask. Now we take one step at a time. As Alex stood there with Kira beside him, he realized that this wasn't the end of their story. It was only the beginning. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Alex felt a sense of purpose beyond the battlefield. The crowd began to cheer again. But this time, Alex wasn't focused on them. He was focused on Kira, on what came next. And as the cheers echoed around him, he knew that, whatever the future held, they would face it together. The arena was empty now. The crowd had dispersed, their voices fading into the distance. Alex and Kira stood outside the arena, alone in the quiet. The vastness of the galaxy lay before them, yet all Alex could think about was what had just happened. Kira's words, "Let me be yours," kept echoing in his mind. He couldn't shake the confusion and doubt that clouded his thoughts. It had only been a few hours since he fought her, and now she was offering him something far beyond victory. It was something more, something unexpected. He had never been in a situation like this before. He had trained his whole life for combat, but this was different. There was no fighting now. There was no battle plan or strategy. There were just two people trying to figure out what the other wanted, what the other needed. As they walked through the empty halls of the complex, Alex found himself glancing at Kira more often than he cared to admit. She was still the same warrior who had defeated countless enemies. But now, there was a different look in her eyes. Vulnerability he had never seen before. She wasn't just a fighter anymore. She was someone he was starting to understand. But what did that mean for him? Alex thought about his life on Earth. He had always been taught to fight, to protect, to survive. He had never been trained to deal with situations like this. His whole world had been about conflict and war. But now, standing here with Kira, he had to admit that there was more to life than just fighting. Kira turned to him and smiled, red skin glowing softly under the dim lights of the hall. "You're thinking too much," she said, her voice gentle. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just take your time." Alex nodded but didn't speak. He didn't know how to express what he was feeling. He had spent his whole life in the military, learning how to fight, how to be strong. But he wasn't sure how to be anything else. Kira, with all her power, all her pride, was asking him to be something more, to be a partner. Someone who could see her for more than just the warrior. "I don't know if I can give you what you want," Alex said quietly, his voice filled with uncertainty. "I've never been a part of something like this before. I don't even know how to begin." Kira stopped walking and turned to face him. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for a moment Alex felt as if she could see straight through him. "You don't have to be perfect, Alex," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. "You just have to be willing to try. I'm not asking for anything grand. I'm asking for something simple. Chance to know each other, chance to understand what it means to be with someone, not because of what we can do, but because of who we are." Alex looked at her, his mind racing. She had been one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. And yet here she was, talking about something as simple as understanding. It was hard to believe that someone like her could want something so basic, but there was sincerity in her eyes that Alex couldn't deny. "I don't know how to be a partner," Alex admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent so much time focusing on survival, on winning. I don't know how to be normal, not like this." Kira stepped closer to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "There's no such thing as normal, Alex. We're all just figuring things out as we go. But that's what makes it worth it. It's the unknown. The chance to grow, to change, to be better together." For the first time since their battle, Alex felt a sense of peace. Kira wasn't asking him to be someone else. She wasn't asking him to fight harder, to be stronger. She was asking him to open up, to share a part of himself that he had kept hidden for so long. The part that wasn't about battle or strength, but about connection and trust. "Why me?" Alex finally asked, his voice filled with curiosity. "Why would you want someone like me?" "I'm just a soldier, a fighter. I'm not like you." Kira smiled softly, her eyes full of warmth. "That's exactly why. You're not like me. You see the world in a different way. You think before you act. You fight with your mind, not just your body. And I admire that. I've spent my whole life being the strongest, the most feared, but I've never had anyone see me for who I am, not just what I do." Alex stood in silence, taking in her words. He had never thought about things that way. Kira had lived a life of endless battles, but now she was seeking something different. And maybe, just maybe, he could offer her that. But the question still lingered in his mind. Could he offer her what she wanted? Could he let go of the soldier in him and become something more? Wasn't sure, but he knew one thing: he couldn't turn back now. There was something about Kira, something about the way she spoke, the way she saw him that made him want to try. "I don't have all the answers," Alex said finally, his voice steady. "But I'm willing to try, to see where this goes." Smile widened, and for the first time, Alex saw a true sense of happiness in her eyes. "That's all I ask," she said, her voice filled with relief. "Let's take it one step at a time." As they walked side by side, Alex realized that the future was still uncertain. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He had no idea where this journey would lead, but he knew that whatever happened, he wouldn't be alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Alex and Kira walked together through the quiet corridors of the complex, the sounds of the battle arena far behind them. Kira had been silent for a few moments, and Alex could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. His mind was still trying to process everything that had happened. He had never imagined that a battle with someone like Kira would end like this. The once feared warrior now stood beside him as a woman, vulnerable yet determined. It wasn't just a matter of fighting anymore. It was about understanding, about breaking down the walls they had both built over years of survival. Alex glanced at her as they walked. For the first time, he saw her in a different light. She wasn't just the fierce warrior who had defeated countless enemies. She wasn't just a symbol of strength and power. She was Kira, the woman who had chosen to trust him. He opened his mouth to speak, but Kira beat him to it. "You're still thinking," she said, a small smile on her lips. Alex gave her a half smile, feeling both embarrassed and relieved. "Guess I am. This is also ... new to me." "I know," Kira said gently. "This isn't easy for either of us. But we don't have to figure it all out right now. One step at a time, remember?" Alex nodded, though part of him still felt unsure. He had never been the kind of person who took things slowly. He had always been trained to act quickly, to make decisions in the heat of the moment. But with Kira, everything felt different. He wasn't just reacting anymore. He was thinking, questioning, considering what it meant to open up to someone. "I don't even know where to begin," Alex admitted. "This whole thing with us. It feels like a whirlwind." Kira stopped walking and turned to face him. The soft light from the hallway made her skin glow, and for the first time, Alex noticed how tired she looked. She had always seemed so strong, so sure of herself. But now, there was a hint of something else in her eyes, something more human. "Maybe it's time to stop pretending," Kira said quietly, her voice tinged with sadness. "I've spent my entire life building walls, making sure no one could get close. But you broke through them. Alex didn't know what to say. He could see the vulnerability in her now, the cracks in the armor she had worn for so long. It was strange, but somehow it made him feel closer to her. I didn't mean to break anything, Alex said, his voice low. I just... I don't. No, I don't know what I'm doing either. Kira smiled softly and took a step closer to him. That's okay. We don't have to have all the answers. I don't need you to be perfect, Alex. I just need you to be real. Alex felt a lump form in his throat. The weight of her words hit him hard. He'd spent so much of his life pretending to be something he wasn't, hiding behind the role of soldier, warrior, protector. But now, Kira was asking him to drop that facade, to just be himself. I think I'm scared, Alex admitted, his voice barely a whisper, scared of letting go of everything I've known, scared of what happens next. No, Kira said, her voice full of understanding. I've been scared too. I've spent years fighting, years pushing people away because I thought that was all I could do. But what if there's more to life than just fighting? What if there's something else, something better, waiting for both of us? Alex swallowed, hard looking into Kira's eyes. Her words were powerful, and for the first time. He found himself wondering if there was a life for him beyond the battlefield. He had never considered it before. He'd always thought that survival was enough, that being strong was the only thing that mattered. But Kira was showing him another way, one that didn't rely on violence or strength, but on something far deeper. I don't know what's next, Kira, Alex said quietly. But I do know one thing. I don't want to keep hiding from who I really am, and I don't want you to keep hiding either. Kira's smile softened, and she reached out, gently touching his arm. I'm not hiding anymore, she said. I don't want you to hide either. We can figure this out together, whatever this is. Alex let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was standing on solid ground. The uncertainty was still there, of course, but it didn't seem so overwhelming anymore. Kira had opened a door for him, and now he could see that there was a different path waiting ahead. I don't know if I'm ready for all of this, Alex said, looking at her with a mixture of fear and hope, but I'm willing to try. Kira's eyes lit up with something Alex couldn't quite describe. That's all I'm asking for, Alex. A chance. A chance to see where this could go. The two of them stood in the hallway, the future uncertain but filled with possibility. Alex wasn't sure what would happen next, but for the first time, he felt like he could face it. Together, I'm glad we're doing this, Alex said, his voice steady. Me too, Kira replied, her voice soft but filled with strength. Now, let's take it one step at a time. They continued walking down the hall, side by side. And though the path ahead was unclear, Alex knew one thing for sure. Whatever happened, he wouldn't be alone. The days following Alex and Kira's conversation were filled with quiet moments and shared conversations. They spent time together, walking through the complex, talking about everything and nothing at all. Every day, Alex learned more about Kira, not just as the powerful warrior she had once been, but as the person she was underneath. And in turn, Kira began to see Alex in a new light. At first, Alex had been uncertain about where all of this was leading. He had never allowed himself to think about anything beyond survival, beyond the mission. But now, with Kira by his side, something inside him began to shift. The thought of a future together didn't seem as impossible as it once had. One evening, as the two of them sat on a quiet balcony, watching the stars above, Alex turned to Kira with a serious look on his face. She was sitting beside him, her posture relaxed but still regal. Her presence, calm and steady, made Alex feel like he could finally breathe. Kira, he began, his voice quieter than usual. Been thinking about everything you said. About the life you want, the life we could have. I think, I think I'm ready to stop hiding from it. Kira looked at him, her gaze soft but searching. Ready for what, Alex? Ready for? Gus, Alex said, his words coming out slowly, as if testing them on his own tongue. I've spent so much of my life thinking I was only a soldier, thinking I had to keep fighting. But you, you've shown me there's more than that. There's something else I've been missing. something real, and I want to find it. With you. Kira's eyes softened, and she reached out, placing a hand on his. It was the first time she had ever done something like that. The touch was gentle, almost shy. It was as if she was waiting for him to decide if he was ready to take that step. I don't want to fight anymore, Kira, Alex continued, his voice steady now. I don't want to live a life where I'm always looking over my shoulder, always waiting for the next battle. I want to live for something more. I want to build something with you, Kira smiled, and for the first time, Alex saw the depth of emotion behind her usual calm demeanor. It wasn't just a warrior's smile. It was the smile of someone who had longed for something more than battles and victories. I don't want to fight anymore either, Kira said, her voice soft, but firm. I've fought for so long, Alex. I've won so many battles. But I've never felt ... this. With you, I feel like I can finally breathe too. I don't need to keep proving myself to the galaxy. I just need to be with you. Alex looked at her, his heart filled with a mix of excitement and fear. He didn't know what the future held for them. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges, doubts, and fears to overcome. But for the first time, he felt a sense of peace. In his chest, he wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was someone capable of love, of connection, of hope. You've already given me something I never thought I would have, Alex said, his voice growing quieter. And now I want to give you the same thing. A chance to be free. A chance to be more than just the warrior everyone expects you to be. Kira leaned in slightly, her hand still resting on his. And what if I'm not ready for that? What if I'm still scared? Alex smiled gently, his eyes warm with understanding. Then we take it slow. We take it one step at a time. Together. The stars above seemed to shine brighter in that moment, as if the universe itself was giving them its blessing. They sat in silence for a while, the weight of their conversation settling in. There was still so much to figure out, so many questions left unanswered. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Kira turned toward him, her expression serious but full of warmth. I want to try, Alex. I want to see where this goes. But I need to know that you're willing to be patient with me. I've never allowed myself to trust anyone like this before. I can do that, Alex said, his voice filled with conviction. I'm not in a rush. I want to take the time to get to know you, to build something real, something that lasts. Kira smiled, her gaze softening. Then we'll do it together. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt like he had made the right choice. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a person with hopes, dreams, and a future he was finally ready to embrace. And Kira, the woman who had once seemed like an impossible dream, was now standing beside him, ready to face the future together. As the night grew darker and the stars above twinkled brightly, Alex and Kira sat in comfortable silence. They didn't need words anymore. They had made their choice. Now they would see where the road ahead would lead them. Alex knew there would be challenges. They both had scars from their pasts. But with Kira by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. For the first time, he wasn't fighting alone, and that, he realized, was enough. The days after their conversation were filled with quiet moments, small gestures, and shared experiences. Alex and Kira had taken things slowly, but something had shifted between them. The walls they had both built over the years were slowly crumbling, replaced by a new foundation, one built on trust, understanding, and the willingness to take a step into the unknown. As time passed, Alex found himself in places he never imagined. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was becoming someone who could laugh, share, and even dream. He was becoming someone who could live a life without always looking over his shoulder, someone who could be a partner in something bigger than just the next battle. Kira, too, had started to change. The proud warrior who had once lived only for combat and honor was beginning to see herself in a new light. She wasn't just a fighter. She was a person with desires, with emotions, and with a future that wasn't defined by her past victories. And Alex had shown her that with him. She didn't need to fight alone anymore. One afternoon, the two of them walked through the quiet gardens of the complex, the sun casting long shadows across the green fields. Alex could hear the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, the peaceful hum of nature around them. It was a far cry from the chaos of the battlefield, yet here they were, walking side by side, not as warriors, but as two people, simply enjoying each other's company. Kira turned to him, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if we had met under different circumstances?" she asked. Alex smiled softly, his eyes meeting hers. "Every day. But I think I'm glad we met like this. There's no other way I could have understood you, Kira. And maybe in some strange way, there's no other way you could have understood me." Kira's lips curved into a small smile. "Maybe you're right. The life we've lived has brought us to this point. Can't change it, but we can decide what happens next." Alex nodded, his heart light with the thought of their future. He had once been afraid of what lay ahead, unsure of how to navigate a world outside of war and duty. But now, with Kira by his side, he saw a new path unfolding, one that was filled with possibility and hope. "I'm ready for what's next," Alex said quietly. "I'm ready to face it with you." Kira reached for his hand, her grip firm but gentle. "Not ready to." "Together, we can create a future where we don't have to fight every day. We can build something real, something lasting." For a moment, they stood there, their hands intertwined, looking out over the horizon. It was a simple moment, but it felt like the most important one of their lives. They had fought, they had struggled, but now they had something new. They had each other. Later that day, they sat together in a quiet room, just the two of them. The space felt peaceful, almost like a refuge from the world outside. They didn't have to worry about the galaxy's politics, the dangers of battle, or the expectations of others. In this room, it was just them. "I've been thinking," Kira said, her voice calm but serious. "I've been thinking about what you said about building something new. I think we're ready for that. We're ready to build something that's not based on our past, but on who we are now." Alex looked at her, his heart swelling with pride. "We are, aren't we? We've both changed. And we've both found something in each other that we didn't even know we were looking for." Kira smiled softly, her gaze filled with warmth. "I never imagined I would find peace like this. I never imagined that a simple human soldier could show me a life without war. But here we are." Alex's heart felt full, as if everything he had ever wanted was right in front of him. The future wasn't something to fear anymore. It was something to embrace. "Maybe this is what we were meant for," Alex said, his voice filled with certainty. "Not the battles, not the wars, but this, a life together." Kira nodded, her eyes shining. This is what we were meant for. And in that moment, Alex realized something important. He wasn't just living for the next battle. He wasn't fighting to survive anymore. He was living to experience life, to share it with someone who saw him for who he truly was, not just the soldier. Kira had given him something he never expected. She had given him a chance to be more than he had ever imagined. And in return, Alex was ready to give her the same thing, to show her that there was more to life than fighting, that they could have a future built on something deeper. They didn't know what the future would bring, but that didn't matter. They had each other. And that was enough. As they sat together in the quiet room, their hands still clasped, Alex knew that they had made the right choice. They had faced their fears, let go of their pasts, and chosen to build something new. Together. And in that moment, the quiet peace of the room around them, Alex felt more at home than he ever had before.